Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. And I come to you this week. Matt, I'm feeling inspired this week.
Okay.
So, Matt, I don't like driving.
Same.
But sometimes when I'm driving, things happen,
Jaren, did you watch Gran Turismo again?
No, unfortunately, I think that one's in the books. That one's in the vault, Matt. I don't think I'll ever watch Gran Turismo again.
Damn.
Maybe if I needed something in the background when I'm playing Starfield, which, Matt, spoilers for this week's episode, I'm not playing Starfield.
Oh, okay.
But, so I'm driving earlier today, and there's this Dodge Challenger driving in front of me,
Okay.
There seems to be a cool dude in the car. He had one hand just leaning out. Because, Matt, pretty hot day. I'm not going to go into how much I don't like the weather right now. But it was pretty hot when I was driving about. So, cool dude in front of me, arm leaning out the car. And I was looking at his Dodge Challenger. And then I looked at his license plate. And Matt, he had one of those license plate frames.
Okay.
And then I'm like, oh, this looks really familiar. And Matt, I looked a bit closer. This cool dude had a Naruto anime frame on his Dodge Challenger.
Oh, man. Jared, I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of who we are as people and what we would talk about. But I somehow just internally knew it was going to be an anime frame. And I was just waiting for that drop, Jaren.
So now, Matt, I'm inspired. I kind of feel like I need my own anime frame for my license plate just to let people know, hey, I'm about that life. But for the Dodge Challenger driving in front of me, it was like a subtle anime frame where I think if anyone looking at it was thinking, oh, this dude just has red clouds or whatever around his license plate.
Yeah.
But Matt, if you know, you know, and I knew. And as someone who has also known me for the better part of, what is it, Matt? 2 decades? Close to 2 decades now?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Close to 2 decades. And I like the big, the obnoxious, but I'm trying to think what would be based on my anime taste, man, what do you think a subtle anime frame would be for my vehicle?
Jaren, when I think about you having an anime frame around your license plate, for some reason the first thing I think of is Hatsune Miku. I feel like you really made that your anime brand.
Oh, but I don't know how subtle I can do with an Hatsune Miku one.
I mean, you probably get something pretty good. I'm sure that there's a lot of really, I don't want to say obnoxious Hatsune Miku ones, but there's really a lot of telling ones. I'm kind of just looking at anime license plates right now, Jaren, and I don't know, there's some that's just Hatsune Miku's kind of eyes on the bottom border, and it kind of just has the pink and blue kind of a Miku frame or color scheme, I guess.
I think eyes would be too much. I think in terms of my, I guess, not necessarily brand, but my aesthetics, I think eyes would be too much. The one you linked to me, it does look pretty good though, Matt. It does look pretty good. Matt, would you consider a Gundam-inspired anime frame?
I think a Gundam-inspired one could actually be pretty good. Pretty good, actually. You know what? Man. Maybe you should actually lean... I don't actually know in Canada if it's legal. But are you allowed to do the kind of designed plate itself? Or do we have to have the white and blue one?
I believe as long as it's still white and blue, you can still have a branded one. I've seen Toronto Raptor branded ones where it would be, the license plate numbers or letters. And then to the side, it's the Toronto Raptors logo or the Toronto Maple Leafs logo or the Toronto Blue Jays logo. Matt, I'm pretty sure it's just Toronto sports teams logos on license plate. But Matt, have you ever considered a vanity plate?
Jaren, no. I would never put anything that like identifies my tastes on something that strangers can look at.
So when I was playing the Forza Horizon games, and you can customize your license plate.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Forza Horizon 3, I put Pizza Dog for some reason. Because I like pizza and I like dogs, Matt.
Yeah, that's just like you. That's just like you.
I think starting at Horizon 4, that was during our, that was post you introducing me to the world of Hololive, and Matt, Hey Muna fit on a license plate.
Nice.
And when I was counting the characters, Hey Muna does fit on a license plate here in Canada. And I remember, as a goof, I floated the idea to Julian saying, hey, I'm going to make Hey Muna my license plate. And of course, this is via text, but I don't remember what exactly Julian replied with, Matt, but his reply, I could feel the disgust coming from those words that I read, and the amount of judgment coming from his general chat window. Man. That is why I do not have a Hey Muna license plate on my vehicle.
I can't believe you let Julian bully you like this.
But it's also the fact that, Matt, vanity plates are kind of expensive. I thought if a vanity plate was a one and done, I think I would consider that a lot more, but I do believe it is a annual fee.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I just assumed it was a one and done.
I think a one and done I would have really considered, but now I am considering a anime inspired license plate frame, and I'm hoping I find something in my taste. But that was a little aside from my day to day, and I have one more question for you, Matt Alba.
Okay,
because this was on my mind, and I think the best way to illustrate my question is to bring it back to Arknights.
Okay.
And I see you're continuing to play on and off Arknights just because in my friend base, I send you clues. And you're one of the friends that are usually one of the more recent logged in. So thankfully, I can just, if I see you as one of the first 4 friends on my most recent logged ins, I can just send you the clues your way if you need them. But say in a team building game, whether it be Arknights, maybe in my case it's Nikkei, or if we're playing a JRPG and you have a roster or a party of members, and you're trying to, when you level up your members, you're using materials, XP drops, things that you allocate to their level gains, as opposed to you earning it by killing monsters on the field. So say you have a squad of, let's just make it simple, 5 units.
Yeah.
And you have, let's say, 5 levels worth of XP material on you. Do you usually level 1 unit 5 level, like allocate all of those resources to 1 unit to level them up 5 times? Or do you allocate it evenly among your 5 units to grow each unit by 1 level?
Jaren, it depends. Because it depends on how much more higher in the tier list one of those units is compared to everybody else in that tier list. Like if I'm running 1 S and 4 Bs, I'm gonna pour everything into the S tier unit, right?
Let's say you're running with traditional, I know even in traditional JRPG, like a console experiences or a PC experience, like a big boy game experience. I think, of course, there are going to be meta, but let's just say, for sake of conversation, they're all S tier units.
Yeah. I think in that case, I would evenly spread. Just I guess it also depends on how hard the content I'm doing is, right?
Right.
Like if the content is the kind of thing where one can carry, I'd rather put it all into one. But I think in most cases, like I'll spread them evenly, because like Jaren,
Yeah.
I think I've talked about this on the show before, but I always feel like my in-game characters have feelings.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm favoring one character over them, because then they'll feel bad, Jared.
Of course, Matt. We've all seen Toy Story. I bet games work on Toy Story logic as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my final question, Matt, say you're going all in on a person and you have, let's say, 4 levels worth of resources. Do you level them up to like the four levels, or do you wait for enough resources to do an interval of 5?
No, I'll go all 4.
Okay.
I don't feel so compelled to do the multiples of 5 sort of thing.
Man, I am a interval of 5 guy.
Oh no,
Matt, where I think even through me playing through Arknights, this is also kind of going to what you were saying about not necessarily character feelings, but in my playthrough of Arknights, or not necessarily my playthrough, but my account, I usually level up the characters that I'm using or my frequent rotation to intervals of 5. And then I do have a lot of 6-star operators that have the max, 90, which takes a lot of resources. And then from there, it's just depends on how often I use that character. But for me personally, Matt, so there are different rarities in Arknights. You have your 6 stars, your 5 stars, your 4 stars. For me, I need to, if I'm going to use a 5-star operator, I need to make sure that when I sort by levels, I guess, I have all my 6-star operators at minimum level 70. And for my 5-star operators, even the ones that I use, I'll only level them up to level 70, just because I feel like with a 6-star operator, even though it might not be the case when you actually go into the meta, from a pure visual standpoint, if you're a 6-star operator, I feel that you should be on par with my 5-star operators, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying.
Where at one point there was content where I wanted to beef up this 5-star operator, Lapland, and then I realized, but if I put her to 70, before my cutoff was all my 6-star units had to be at least level 60. But then I thought, oh no, if I want to make Lapland level 70, I have to take all my other 6 stars that I don't use and then turn them to 70 as well. And I think with the 5 stars, the max, once you E2 a unit, you can only max them up to 80. Where if I ever want to do that, Matt, got to take all those other 6 stars and put them to 80, which is more resources. And that's how my sick brain works, Matt.
Jared, that's just like a really weird version of power creep.
But now, Matt, I feel like we learned something about each other and how we treat our video game friends. And that's all. I guess that was a long-winded way of saying that I really need to get over my 5-star interval thing, but it's so hard. It looks so gross, Matt. It looks so gross. And of course, I was going to be one of those guys in Arknights who just built all their units to level 69 and leave it at that. But Matt,
maybe I should do that.
You got to pump up those extra levels. Even at harder content, every stat matters, which is unfortunate because having all your characters at 69 looks pretty nice, Matt.
But Jared, nice.
So Matt, speaking about XP allocation, Matt, would you say that the XP systems in Souls games are kind of an integral part of their overall experience?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's all about, kind of boosting your own stats the way you kind of freely wish to inside of Souls games, right?
Yeah. Plus, it's the whole risk versus reward system of, you know, trying to hold on to your souls and banking them in order to, you know, reach that next level 5 interval, of course.
Wait, Jared, when you were doing your Elden Ring bird runs, would you only level up in intervals of 5 there as well?
Yes.
Amazing.
Matt, that's how much it's ingrained in me.
Uh-huh.
But with the Souls games, I feel like every new entry in this pretty much genre now has, you know, adapted the whole, oh, let's allocate your your souls, your XP equivalent at the bonfire equivalent. And Lies of P is no different, Matt, where this recently came out. This was also a day one Game Pass game, which is how I played it. So I played this on the Xbox Series X. And Lies of P is just purely looking at it visually and from the debut trailers that were shown when this game was originally announced, you would think, oh, this is definitely trying to, you know, produce or present that Bloodborne aesthetic that we haven't necessarily seen since, you know, the release of Bloodborne. And with Lies of P, it is a aesthetic take on the Pinocchio story, where you do star or you play as Pinocchio, who is a puppet in this. You know, it's that really macabre Victorian era looking game. You know, I feel like the moment you describe something with that style, you'll immediately know what this game looks like, and it is heavily reminiscent of that Bloodborne look, that Bloodborne aesthetic. So I think when you kind of go into the game, you have this expectation of how it's going to be, and this is a Souls-like experience through and through. From, oh, here's how you need to get to your bonfire equivalent, you have your Estus flask equivalent, you have, you know, limited charges for that, you have punishing boss fights, and it's kind of everything I thought it would be, but it also seems to have taken a lot of inspiration and mechanics from other FromSoft titles, where, for example, your Estus flask, you, at least during the start of the game, you only have 2 charges to your Estus flask. And it actually encourages you to use them rather than save them, because once you finish your 2 Estus flasks, every time you successfully attack an enemy, whether it be a boss or whether it be, you know, or a normal mob, you'll recharge your empty Estus flask. So it really does want you to, you know, use them more freely, but still be aggressive just so you can help sustain yourself. And with the game as well, there's another mechanic that you also have to kind of manage, which is your weapon durability, where the more you use your weapon, it will degrade, obviously. And to do that, and, you know, if a weapon degrades, it not only is its attack weaker, but if it fully degrades, it breaks. And I believe once you can restore it once you get back to a bonfire equivalent. I'm not sure, because, Matt, I'll be honest, I didn't let it get to the point of a weapon breaking, just because another mechanic is essentially, since you're Pinocchio, you're a puppet, you actually have a kind of a weapon, not necessarily like grinding stone, attached to your mechanical arm, where you can actually just hold, I believe it's L1 or the left shoulder bumper, and then start grinding your weapon to get more durability. So there's also that mechanic that you have to kind of consider. Other mechanics there, Matt, tell me if you heard this before from a Souls game. There is a stagger mechanic.
Yep,
where
sounds about right.
You can stagger enemies to do, you know, stronger hits. You have different swords and different. Essentially, when you can hold up to 2 weapons at once and change interchangeably during your gameplay. A weapon consists of a handle and a blade, and then you can kind of mix and match those. And depending on your kind of combination, you'll get different, essentially, weapon abilities, special moves. So
yeah, that mechanic like really interested me when I was like reading up on Lies of P.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily get too into it because Matt. I guess this is where the kind of Souls-like nature of the game started to get to me because Matt, of course, you have a dodge mechanic that is also affected by your weight. So we standard stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, you have your blocking mechanic where whenever you do block in the game, you receive chip damage. But if you tell me if you heard this one before, Matt, if you perfect guard, if you parry, you totally negate the damage. And that also, I believe, can lead into some staggering an enemy, adding to their stagger meter, and then giving you abilities to counterattack. What you would expect from a good parrying, where I also feel like Lies of P has that same emphasis on parrying as, say, Sekiro did. Is
it like that level of like parrying requirement?
Because, Matt, some of the enemies in Lies of P have something called fury attacks, where a enemy will glow red, and this reddish aura indicates, they're going to be doing something really heavy towards you. It's going to be notably hard to dash out of, to dodge out of, nor can it be guarded. So the only way to really defend yourself from these fury attacks is, hey, perfect guard.
Yeah.
And I've done a few bosses in Lies of P, and I think for me personally, a lot of those fights ended up being just barely escaping through the skin of my teeth because, Matt, you know me, I am not good at parrying. Parrying is like the bane of my existence when it comes to video games. And with how kind of aggressive Lies of P wants you to be from just there's no real cheese alternatives. It does want you to be really aggressive in the game based from the weapons. You're recharging your Estus Flask equivalent, and how I really think it does emphasize that you should be parrying as much as you can here to really negate the damage. Just because, again, if you are someone who is really defensive like me, you blocking will just really remain in that chip damage state. And so it's a lot more of an aggressive game than I kind of thought it would be. And with just the way the bosses have been ramping up, and I do feel like there is that emphasis on parrying where that had to start I became less inclined to really pick up the controller as the days passed after I installed it. But again, I do like just the overall aesthetic because, Matt, I was a kid who grew up to adore American McGee's Alice, and I feel like this is definitely in that wheelhouse as well. But it's just the difficulty there that I feel that I've said it before. I'm a baby, and as cool as this world is, it's kind of it's welcome territory because as cool as I thought the Bloodborne world was, again, Matt, didn't have my Azure comment there to kind of, or a mimic tier to really baby me through some of these more difficult encounters. And these soul games aren't for everyone, and they might not necessarily be for me, especially something like this. But Lies of P, it's way more aggressive than I thought it would be. And
John, did you ever end up playing Wolong or no?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Again, I guess just the world that had, not necessarily the window dressing wasn't right for me. But speaking about window dressing, I think one other mechanic that I wanted to touch on Lies of P is kind of the lie system. This is more so part of the narrative side of the things where, you play as Pinocchio, he's a puppet. And, the basic story from what I gathered is, Matt, tell me if you heard this before, that, mankind has created automatons, puppets to help serve them. And who knows, Matt, maybe there's a level of sentience in these puppets who are kind of now thinking for themselves and lashing out at their masters. So I think well-known territory based on some of the media and even anime that we consume. But as Pinocchio, as a puppet, he does find himself in instances where he is presented with the opportunity to either tell the truth or tell a lie. And I think the first major point of this is when you get to the hotel, which is kind of like your hub area for the first time. And, you knock on the door and it asks you, hey, are you human? Or what are you? And you can either tell the truth and say you're a puppet, or you can lie and say you're a human. And I'm pretty sure it forces you to lie to be a human to actually enter the hotel, which kind of gives you the sense of, okay, Pinocchio lying makes him appear to be more human, and thus he gets more humanity points for that. And other than, I'm not actually sure what humanity points does in terms of, a gameplay perspective. I believe it mostly has to do with what ending you get, because of course this game has multiple endings. And from what I also saw, that the more you lie, the more you become a human, even though we know your nose is supposed to grow as Pinocchio. I think his hair becomes longer because Matt...
Oh, that's kind of cool.
He's just a puppet trying to be a human, but I think when I think of Pinocchio, I think of the Disney variant. But Matt, Pinocchio and Lies of P looks like your model man.
Guy, whenever I see the Pinocchio and Lies of P, I still think of Timothée Chalamet.
Actually, yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah, I can see it. Matt, this character's too pretty to be in this dark, macabre world.
I would watch, knowing nothing about this world, I would 100% watch a Timothée Chalamet live action movie of Lies of P.
Oh man, I would too, man, because again, this is normally within my wheelhouse of things I would like to explore, but I think my experience with Lies of P moving forward will live in wikis, just to learn about the story, learn about the characters, maybe watch a playthrough here or there, just because, Matt, we're in the season of gaming, and spoiler alert, Matt, I had to uninstall Starfield from my PC to make room for another game that I believe we'll briefly touch upon later on in the episode. But yeah, Lies of P, if that's more Sekiro than I thought it would be. But if that is something that you're comfortable with, if you have parries down pat, I think this is something more for you. But if you're like me, who needs that sweet, sweet cheese with that funk to help you get through these Souls-like games, not necessarily for you, but who knows? Maybe it will force you to get better.
Jaren, does this game have like any kind of a castable magic?
Not that I've seen. I think it's all kind of melee weapons and the weapon, or the weapon abilities tied to those.
I see. Oh,
where I would hope there was some common Azor equivalent plus a mimic tier friend to help draw aggro, but Matt, I think for me, as cool as the first few bosses were, for me personally, there's that difficulty ramp that I definitely see coming, and gotta put this one down for now, considering how much other games are kind of around. But if that's for you, I do think this is one of the stronger soul, like non from software Souls-like games that I've played. So the quality is there, but so is, the challenge. But that's kind of what you expect from this genre now. So check it out if that's for you. But you can also join me on the Wikipedia just to learn more about this world.
I mean, Jaren, I'm kind of looking forward to Lies of P. Because, I don't know, something about it is, very appealing to me. And
yes.
Jaren, I hate to, kind of go into a new segment on a bummer like this, Jaren. But I think that I might be uninstalling Payday 3 to make room for Lies of P.
Matt, no. Matt. That hurts my heart because I know how much the pain day, Matt, is Payday 3 a pain day?
Jaren, it's multiple pain days for me.
Oh no. I know. So the Payday franchise, and when I say Payday franchise, let's just say it's Payday 2. I know you have you're really positive on the Payday 2. I guess, what would you call it? A behemoth of a release, just considering how much components are in it. I know early on it was something that co-oping with you when I used to play Payday 2 way back was a really fun experience. I think the only time I would play with randoms it was when you were also in the party. So a lot of good memories there, Matt. And for the road to the lead up to the release of Payday 3, another day one on Game Pass release, we always had that question of, how do you release a sequel to a game that's already so beefy, that has established itself with so much content? And Matt, now that, the game has released, how do you think Payday 3 holds up as not only the latest entry of this franchise, but trying to step away from the shadow that previous game casts?
Okay, Jaren, I think I guess I should start with the positives here, which is that I think in terms of gameplay and the moment-to-moment gameplay itself, I think is very, very fun. I think that Payday 3 is a very competent game. It is very much, though, kind of just mostly a graphical improvement, and then I hate to say it, but a 2.5 version of Payday 2 in terms of those kind of mechanics. I think they've added a lot of nice stuff for the gameplay itself. One of them being for me, one of the new specials is, I think, very good. It's the Grenadier or something like that. It's a cop who throws grenades, which I think is a nice addition, because I felt towards the end of Payday 2, it did kind of have that same problem as Left 4 Dead 1, which was that you really, if you're playing loud, the thing is that you kind of just set up in an area and aim all your guns at a door.
Okay.
Right? And you're trying to funnel all the kind of police into that doorway so you can kind of deal with them. And I think that having something basically the exact same solution they did for Left 4 Dead 2, which was adding something that makes an area uninhabitable, but otherwise doesn't cause as much chaos other than that, is a very smart thing, I think, to add to Payday 2. Okay. I think that adding kind of objectives, or kind of I don't know if objectives is the right word, but I guess small objectives outside of your main one that you can't really camp around. For example, in the very first stage, if you go loud, you're trying to break into the vault using thermite. And if you hole up somewhere, the cops will just go somewhere and turn on the fire extinguishers or fire sprinklers, so that it dampens your thermite. So you have to go somewhere to turn those off. It doesn't kill your fire, but it slows the process down a lot. And I think even adding stuff again onto that thermite one, where they will throw bags, your assistants will throw bags outside of the bank so that you can make the thermite process go faster. I think adding all these kind of small things really, really adds to making the missions feel more dynamic.
Okay.
I think like the difficulty change, I think is very nice because the difficulty no longer increases enemy health, which I think makes a lot of the guns and stuff stay a lot more viable. Like, I haven't really like gotten to all of the guns yet, but I think that sort of outlook into balancing the game is a good one. The difficulty increases are really doing stuff like enemies outgoing damage, enemies accuracy, and the amount of enemies that spawn, which I think is like a much fairer way to increase difficulty rather than just increasing their health and making them more meat spongy and making it so that like only certain guns, like in Payday 2, only certain guns are worth using because you can hit certain like bullet breakpoints with them.
Yeah, I really appreciate when developers really tune harder difficulties to more tactical aspects rather than making, the standard, oh, enemies have higher health and your attacks just do less damage, where I don't find that bullet spongy approach to difficulty that entertaining. And I feel that any game that does that makes it a lot boring, I guess. Where I do appreciate where a higher difficulty means, not only are you getting quote unquote smarter enemies, but you're getting a different variety of enemies that might have different mechanics associated to them. So I think it's good to hear that, at least in that regard, Payday 3 changes things up. Because, yeah, Matt, I remember when you were trying to take me through, what was it, some of the higher difficulty heists just to get more money. Yeah, it really did get bullet spongy, which, again, wasn't really kind of put me off playing on those higher difficulties.
Yeah, and I guess like speaking about the enemy variety, I do like that the enemy variety is actually a lot, even at the early difficulties, you're getting a lot more of the special cops. Like, I was very surprised to see that they put the bulldozer in the like lowest difficulty.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, okay. And when I was looking more into it, apparently they're doing the kind of thing with their special enemies where they're all available from the start, but as you go higher in difficulty, they gain more and more abilities, which I think is like a kind of like system that I enjoy.
That's a really smart way to do it.
I think another thing that I actually really like is that they give you two kind of tool sets now. Before, you either were going in with, like, for example, ECM jammers, right? Or you could bring in like an ammo box. And you're basically saying, hey, I'm either going loud or I'm going quiet when you start the mission. It's nice now that they give you both. So you bring in a quiet option tool, like cameras or like the ECM jammers, or you bring in a loud tool, like or in addition, you also bring a loud tool, like an ammo box or like a med kit or stuff like that, which I think is like a nice change.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, Matt, but when playing through Payday 2, especially trying to do a stealthy route, the moment that kind of blows up in your face, I feel like your run's automatically dead. So
yeah,
I think having both, at least tools at your disposal, really kind of adds to the fact that, maybe if you ruin your stealth run, you still have a chance to salvage it. Did you find yourself in any similar situations like that?
Yeah, Jaren, because I still am not at the point where I know the maps well enough to do stealth. Like, I'll start them stealthy just to see how they go, but I never finished a single map going stealth yet.
Okay. And speaking about stealth, since this is a new game, have they changed that in any way to make it either more accessible, more streamlined? What have you done to stealth, I guess?
I think the the kind of moment to moment stealth stuff is nicer. I think that one of the nicer changes that I enjoyed, which is that in Payday 2, lockpicking was really just, hey, hold this button and like at this door and just wait for the circle to fill. I like that they made that into a kind of like an active thing where it really is very basic, but it's kind of just like a spinner. And like once it falls into like, hey, between it's like 2 points, if you can hit it, you make the lockpick go faster. Like kind of just small mini games like that, I think is nice. I like that in the mission select screen, when you're kind of seeing how you want to tackle it, it says stuff to you, kind of warnings, I guess, mostly, that says like, hey, in this mission, if you do it at this difficulty, all the cameras are unbreakable. They're like they're like inside like bulletproof glass or whatever. Like, I think that kind of stuff for stealthing is very nice. And I think it's checkpointed a lot better or more clearly, so you know what to do without having to watch like a YouTube guide to do it.
Okay, that's good.
Jen, I guess like the one last good thing that I want to kind of like touch on is they had a new thing called the overkill weapon, which is basically like, if you're going loud, once you get enough kills or like done enough stuff, you're filling this bar, and when you use this bar, you like get a special weapon to drop from the sky, which for me right now is just a grenade launcher. But you know, it's a nice little tool to have when you're doing loud stuff.
Do you know what other overkill weapons you'll eventually get access to?
I do not. Jen, there's like one other overkill weapon, and it unlocks at level 40, and I am not there yet.
Okay. What level are you, Matt?
I'm somewhere in like 20s. So
Okay.
like, you know, I'm halfway there, you know, living on a prayer that Payday 3 gets fixed before I decide to uninstall it.
Oh no, Matt, is this where you go into the bummer zone?
Jaren, we're going into the bummer zone, because Jaren, outside of the actual game playing, Payday 3 is a hot mess.
Oh no.
Jaren, they have transitioned Payday 3 into a kind of like games as a service, always online sort of thing. And, oh man, Jaren, if you thought the Diablo 3 release was bad, this is really, really, really bad. When I queue for a game, even if I'm playing solo, because it is a always online game, I have to wait for authentication from the server. I think I've had a maybe 1 in 8 to 1 in 10 chance of getting into a game when I'm queuing.
Really?
And that's after like a 3-minute-ish queue. So I can't really get into games that well. And so I've mostly just been doing solo matchmaking so I can play the game the way I want. Because, Jaren, I can't believe I have to say this for a game in 2023. This game does not have text chat or voice chat.
Wait, no.
Jared, this is a cooperative game in which you cannot communicate with your teammates.
Matt, but how do I know if my team wants to kick me out because I accidentally picked up a key card that we were trying to dupe while you were there saying, no, he's good, don't kick him.
Jaren, see, that's the great thing. You're not going to get kicked anymore because since no one is hosting the game, like none of the players are hosting the game, you can't kick anybody from the game even if they're trolling you.
Matt, I feel like no, Payday 2 had a text chat. It had voice chat. Like, I remember specifically texting and talking to people.
Yep.
Back when I wasn't scared about everything and was able to play with voice chat and text chat on. And not only that, I remember being able to kick people too when they were really messing up the flow for the game. So I'm really surprised that that was taken out here. But I guess it doesn't even make sense if they're trying to go into a more live service route, because I feel like communication at its is the core of Payday, especially when you want to have a full party and have to be coordinated.
I mean, Jared, see, it doesn't really even matter about being coordinated anymore because they've severely cut the kind of like pre-planning stuff. You really? No longer have a map to draw dicks on with your friends, so you can't hear each other laugh because there's no voice chat. One of the things I actually really dislike as a change that they made is that in Payday 2, you kind of tied the I guess like the favors to the map itself, right? For example, like if you loaded up like the bank map, you knew that you would be able to have 4 favors to spend to, like, leave a key card outside or have like an ammo bag or medic bag somewhere in the bank already. Like that sort of thing. I don't know if you remember, like that sort of thing. Now it is 1 favor per human player within the game, which is a real dunk on if you're playing either solo or with less than 4 people, I think.
Yeah, just because now you're missing out on
you're missing
obvious
out
resources.
Which you honestly probably would want there because the AI is kind of bad about objective stuff and kind of, focusing on picking you up. They still kind of have that same kind of issue where they'll try to pick you up knowing that and you know that they're going to get shot and kind of like pulled out of the pickup animation, so you're kind of just stuck there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like rough, but there's also like some stuff where, for example, when you break into one of the banks, you only have a couple seconds to disable ink bombs within these cash piles so that they don't mark the bills. And it's very unfortunate that the bots like can't do anything to like help you there because you can only do so many as like a single player, right?
Right.
But
Matt, it seems like trying to solo this seems unplayable at points.
Yeah, it's not great, Jaren. And Jaren, as if the no voice chat, no text chat, and the matchmaking kind of like issues weren't enough. Jaren, when you finish a heist with, hey, let's say like, a really good crew, you are kicked out of the lobby. Like the lobby doesn't actually exist, so you kind of just go back into matchmaking and you have to hope that you can find those people again.
Oh man, Matt, that's really rough.
Yeah. And
is it true there's no quick play option? Yes. Or are you just queuing up for each mission?
Yeah, Jaren, I was right about to go into that. Jaren, they removed that kind of map quick match screen, which would kind of show you, hey, these are active lobbies waiting to get started with people that are kind of like, okay, and they can mark, hey, we're doing this map, we're planning to do it loud or quiet, and you can kind of see that going in, so you know what to prepare for, right?
Right.
That is gone. It is now just a pick a map, pick a difficulty, and queue, which is probably the worst way they could have gone about it, because that just creates 16 queues instead of you being able to like filter for a match or certain like difficulties or certain maps or anything like that, which I think is a huge bummer.
Right. Man, that's rough.
Jaren, a lot of people are kind of like harping on Payday 3 because they removed the skill trees and they replaced it with only the deck system. I don't know if you remember the deck system.
Yeah, I remember the deck system.
So
that was later in Payday 2.
Yeah. So you only have the deck system now where you kind of just put levels, or you select a node on like a linear bar and you kind of just like fill it up with experience as you're playing, which you're able to kind of like pick and choose like what things you want active. So it is sort of pseudo like a skill tree, but it honestly doesn't feel as good since you have to invest time into a specific thing instead of like, gaining a skill point, looking over everything you have and then picking it.
Right.
Which
You're
is
kind of forced into each of the track, which, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Jaren, I haven't hit this point yet, but I've heard that as you play the game, it becomes harder and harder to actually gain experience because you do not gain experience from completing a map. You gain experience from completing challenges, which are things like doing like X map Y amount of times or...
Sorry, Matt, you now have unsold me on this game and killed any interest. Matt, I hate... Tell me if you heard this before, Matt, but I really hate what the Battle Pass system has done to games.
Yeah.
And the notion of challenges specifically. That's rough, Matt. That's really rough.
Yeah, like that is... I haven't hit it. Like I said, I haven't hit it yet, but knowing that you can't grind to level up seems like the stupidest thing to me.
Yeah.
And as if grinding to level up wasn't enough, they've also limited your ability to grind sort of money. Because they've introduced a kind of like second currency. Were you playing when like Continental coins were a thing?
No.
Okay. So there's like this kind of like secondary money within Payday 3. Like you have the money that you're stealing from the banks, and then you have something called C-Stacks, which is like it's like cryptocurrency within the world. And you use this cryptocurrency to buy certain things, and then you use your like cash to buy other things. And the really annoying thing about this cryptocurrency thing is that, like, one, I wouldn't mind if there was like a sort of, hey, you just convert your cash into this like crypto, and then you use this crypto to buy stuff. I think that would be okay. But they added a second layer onto that, which is that the more crypto you buy, the less, the less crypto you'll get for the same amount of money until it resets at the end of the week.
Wait.
And I don't like
so it's time gated?
Yes, they've time gated kind of your money progression, which I super like think is like super gross. Like I can't.
You're forgetting about the third currency, according to paydaythegame.com/payday3/FAQ. Matt, will Payday 3 have microtransactions? Yes. You can buy Payday credits separately. However, these are only for purchasing additional cosmetic items. These will not affect the gameplay. The Payday credits will be added post-launch.
Okay. I still okay, I didn't know that was a currency yet. And I guess maybe once they get, their servers working, they'll be able to implement a working transaction like server. But
everything you've told me in the bummer zone right now checks off. I guess Payday 3 has fully completed the jump to live service game or game as a service, but it seems that jump has been hindered by a lot of technical issues and really gameplay changes that were, I guess, really established in Payday 2, which is also unfortunate to kind of hear about. But I guess another question I have for you, Matt, was, the concern of, hey, Payday 2 has so much content. How do you make people transition to Payday 3, after making that big of an investment? In terms of kind of the content, the base content from missions to character, is it just the original 4, or have any of the previous heisters also made an appearance?
There's 6 characters. The original 4, a new girl, I think named Pearl, and then Joy is in it.
Okay. Oh, Joy came back, huh?
Yeah. She still has her. She still has the Switch mask, which I think is nice. Good goof.
Good goof. But in terms of just base content, I know it can't compare to the behemoth that Payday 2 is, but how is the vanilla offering at the very least?
Jaren, you kind of just reminded me about something that isn't really an issue right now, but is going to be an issue down the line. So the starting amount of content you have is basically just 8 missions, which, starting, I think that's okay for like what it is. I honestly was hoping for a lot more than that, but what are you gonna do? The thing that really messes with me is, Jaren, the way these missions are laid out. These missions are shown to you on a kind of like photo slideshow timeline, and I think the really weird thing for me is that it's like a horizontal timeline that is kind of a pain in the ass to scroll for 8 missions already, because between the missions there's kind of like these buffer kind of like, hey, here's a story thing that you can like choose to listen to if you want to. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to change this UI once they have more than 8 missions here, because having to scroll horizontally instead of just going down a list seems like a very, very unoptimal way to like deal with this this UI.
That's unfortunate, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I was looking up Payday 3 on Google, and I like how one of the related questions is the first two related questions are: is Payday 3 working yet, and has Payday 3 been fixed?
Jaren, on the Steam store right now, Payday 3 has a mostly negative rating, where 32% of the user reviews are positive.
Have you... I guess today, Starbreeze Entertainment did release a, update on or a press release kind of discussing everything. Have you gotten a chance to read that over? Or?
I have not, no.
I know. So it kind of notes here... Matt, here's my favorite part of the mistake zone, and it's me reading press releases, of course. But according to this Payday 3 update, Payday 3 matchmaking infrastructure has not performed as tested and expected. Matchmaking software encountered an unforeseen error, which made it unable to handle the massive influx of players. The issue caused an unrecoverable situation for Starbreeze's third-party matchmaking partner. A new version of the matchmaking server software has gradually deployed across all regions, leading to improved performance. However, a software update made by the partner during late Sunday again introduced instability to the matchmaking infrastructure. The partner continues to work to improve and stabilize Payday 3's online systems. The issue in question did not manifest during technical betas or early access due to the specificity of rapid user influx and load balancing. Starbreeze is currently evaluating all options, both short and long term. In the short term, this means Starbreeze's focus is to ensure the player experience. In the long term, this means evaluating a new partner for matchmaking services and making Payday 3 less dependent on online services. Matt, how does that explanation bode with you?
That sounds like any kind of, hey, our servers are messed up kind of press release that comes out these days for anything that's like a games as a service. So, I don't know. I expect that the server stuff will be fixed in a week or two, which is very unfortunate to have like this sort of thing happen, especially I think on a Game Pass game, because like I think that hurts them a lot more in that department, because people are just gonna come in, see that it's broken, and probably just always have a negative opinion of it, instead of something like Steam where you buy it and like it's there for a while and then you can like, I don't know, you spent the money on this, you might as well go back in and check it. And you have that kind of, that sunk cost kind of thought process. But
right.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff just UI wise and kind of just a quality of life wise that needs, I think, a lot of fixing before I'm going to go back and check this game out.
Okay. What, for you to finally come back, Matt, what are you hoping for, other than stable servers?
I think for me, the big things are being able to communicate with your team, bringing back the kind of map, quick match lobby thing that they had in Payday 2 is kind of important for me. But I think the most important thing for me is not time gating you with like the crypto money and not XP gating you with the challenges. Like I think until those, and actually specifically until the XP thing is changed, I think I do not want to touch this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough, Matt. Matt, I know that was a big, long trip in the bummer zone. But any closing thoughts on Payday 3?
I hope that Payday 3 really does kind of like fix itself up, because when I can get into the game, the gameplay is like really, really good, and it does make me want to play, but everything around it is just so broken that or so bad that I just don't want to like try to get in.
I know you compared it more so to a 2.5 release, but how, just closing off now, does the gunplay feel any different? Does, the stealth feel any different? Like from a game, like just from a feel perspective, does it play more so the same, or?
The gunplay does feel very much the same. Like, it does kind of like feel nicer. It does have a lot more nicer kind of like, I don't know, just like feeling to it. They kind of just like improved on like the feedbackness of it, I guess. I don't really know how to phrase it, but I do think that the jump from Payday 2 to Payday 3, the stealth has improved the most, just because like it feels so much better to be able to know what you're doing, and kind of the maps where you can stealth feel more substantial, even though like I don't think they're really that much bigger or more complicated than the Payday 2 ones were. But okay. I don't know, stuff about it is nice. I think that actually, Jaren, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because this has to do with restarting the game or restarting a map. In games, kind of like Payday 2 or anything like that, where there's a sense of pseudo-randomness to it, in terms of like stuff like, oh, where do keycards spawn? Where do, like, kind of like small miscellaneous mission items like that get randomly allocated, like they get moved around and stuff, or changed slightly. How do you feel about games that preserve the randomness between restarts, but like, and like changes it between like full new instances of that map? Do you prefer to like keep it the same on restarts, or do you prefer it to randomize?
I think it really depends on the type of game it is. For something like, again, this is just me, theory crafting right now, especially for something like Payday 3, where to me, Payday at its core is a run-based game, really. You want to go in, get out, and achieve it. And I think in trying to pull the perfect run, I think if that's my mindset, I would like it to, everything to stay within that instance, just because, okay, I'm trying to adapt to, well, not necessarily adapt. I think this is counterintuitive to that, but I want everything to be there so I can slowly really work at that one instance until I accomplish the goal. But if my intention is to just fully adapt and go deal with whatever comes to me, I think that's when I would prefer it to essentially reshuffle upon restart. So I think it really depends on my mindset, but more often than not, I think I tend to prefer it to, still staying within that instance. And I guess that's I'm playing through it. I'm trying to master the mechanics. And once I get to the point where I feel like I have a good grasp on the game, that's when I would want, reshuffle it during restart. I think that's how I approach it. What do you prefer, Matt?
Yeah, I think I fall into that same thing as well. I do like having it maintain itself within the instance, but change itself between new instances. Right. Because I do kind of like, want to have that feeling of, I've successfully completed the perfect heist. I planned everything perfectly, and I got through.
Right. Man, Matt. Hopefully this becomes the game that I think it can be, but it is a shame just to see how, in more ways than one, that it doesn't live up to its predecessor.
I mean, Jaren, I guess while we're on the topic of games that have reached their potential, Jaren, we have a returning game that I believe we've both been wanting to sink our teeth into.
Oh man, Matt. I had to double dip for this one.
Jaren, man, I'm really enjoying my time back in Night City, in the game of Cyberpunk 2020. No, not 2027. Jaren, what's the actual 2077?
2077, the big 2.0 update is live. And Matt, peek behind the curtains.
Yes.
As we speak right now, the Phantom Liberty has gotten live as well. But
to be honest, is it live already, Jaren?
Matt, I'm looking at my Cyberpunk library page right now, and it says today, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty out now.
Oh man,
the Phantom Liberty expansion is now available.
Oh no, Jared! I thought I had more time to get to the Phantom Liberty content. Oh.
But if it isn't obvious, we have not touched Phantom Liberty. But Matt, you have notably touched the 2.0 update, and I'm a bit worried because I'm not sure I'll be able to speak on Phantom Liberty next week. Hopefully, will be. But Matt. With the 2.0 release,
yes,
has the Cyberpunk dream been fully realized yet?
Jared, to be honest, for me, the Cyberpunk dream was like realized even in the first release because I thought that was a pretty good playthrough, but I wasn't playing on consoles, so I had a good time.
Okay, but Matt, how much better is your time right now with Cyberpunk 2077, the 2.0 update?
I'm really, really enjoying it. I think that this skill tree change is like very interesting to me. I really like it. It feels like the skills are a lot more substantial. Jen, do you know how like the new skill tree kind of works? Or
I do not, Matt. Matt, here we are again. Can you give me what are your Cyberpunk 2.0 tips for someone jumping in for the first time?
So, okay. It still kind of maintains the same 5 attributes, which are like body, reflexes, tech, intelligence, and cool, I believe it was. And Jaren, I'll be honest, I can't remember exactly how the old skill tree worked, but in this one, you kind of like apply points into your skill tree and to like raise a number from like, I think it's 0 to 20. That's like, is the attribute score you can have. When you're creating your character, you can set it anywhere, any of the attributes from 3 to 6, depending on how many points you want to spend within that attribute. The more points that you have in the skill tree, or the more points that you have in the attribute, the more skill tree nodes you'll have access to.
Okay.
And Jaren, I think you will very much enjoy that. For the most part, they stick to intervals of 5 for the when you unlock new nodes.
Nice.
But I like it. The skill trees are all kind of following the same sort of methodology within them, which is that the skill trees are all divided into kind of 3 branches within each attribute, where they all kind of do their own kind of thing. For example, like in tech, you have a skill tree branch that focuses mostly on cyberware, which also got like a kind of like whole revamp as well. And then like within intelligence, you have your smart weapon branch, you have your net running kind of branch, and like similarly like in cool, you kind of have like your own like stealth one. And I'll be honest here, and I didn't look at the other ones for cool because I don't need anything other than stealth net runner for my build.
Oh man, Matt. How much is your playstyle going to change drastically from your first time around, or how are you kind of approaching this?
My playstyle has changed drastically based on them. Honestly, I think deservingly nerfing the net running skills.
Really, I thought Julian said. Once again, mentioning Julian here, I thought he said it was pretty much untouched.
Jaren, I remember that when I was playing like Cyberpunk, that you could like hack people through walls. Was that a thing when you were playing?
I believe the only time you could hack people through walls was if you could see them through the camera and they were marked.
I think you can't do that anymore. Like I feel like when I was playing, I was able to do that. I also feel like I'm getting tracked a lot easier now, so they can like start combat with me a lot easier. I don't remember that happening very much when I was playing initially. So my skill choices have basically, for the most part, stayed the same, I think, in terms of what I've decided to invest in, but my play style has changed, where I'm no longer full stealthing a whole building of people.
Oh man, that makes me excited, but also kind of makes me a bit sad because Matt, that's how I played through Cyberpunk.
Jerry, you very much can full stealth a whole building of people. I think it's a bit more methodical than I'd like to play.
Right.
So I've transitioned more into I'm going to take out as many people as I can while I'm still going in quiet, and I will then kind of just, play the rest of it kind of I guess pseudo loud, because you are sort of able to break it into components if you're playing it slow, if you're pushing it slow enough.
Okay.
Which I like. And I kind of like the changes that have gone into the skill tree. I'm gonna, I guess, mostly talk about the intelligence attribute tree because that's the one I've invested in the most.
How much hours have you put into the update?
I think at this point, Jaren, I've only put in around somewhere in the 15 to 20 hour mark. That's that's about where I am. But for the skill trees, Jaren, I kind of like the changes that they've done within the skill tree. They've added, at least within the intelligence skill tree, they've added something like the quick hack queue system, which I believe is fully new. I don't remember this being in the pre 2.0 update, which is that you can now kind of queue quick hacks on people. So you can put I don't know, I can put 4 overheats on a guy and just let them go off in sequence, and let him just burn off by himself. And then there's nodes that branch off of that tree, which is when you have someone who has multiple quick hacks queued on them, you do more damage for each quick hack. Or if you kill someone who has quick hacks on them, you gain RAM back if they have quick hacks that didn't pop. Or you get RAM regen for every quick hack that's on a person. It's that sort of a system. That wasn't in pre 2.0, right?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm. And their other skill tree, or other skill branch, I guess, is mostly focusing on smart weapons, kind of just improving them. Hey, they gain targets faster, your reticle is bigger. It can now, you have better shooting over cover. You don't lose tracking if you're switching between smart weapons. It's a lot of mostly smart quality of life stuff within that branch.
Okay.
And then you have another middle branch which introduces the kind of new mechanic of overdriving, where you go into a kind of state for 15 seconds or so, and in this state you can use your health as RAM to cast quick hacks even more. Okay. And when you're in this state, if you combine this tree with the smart tree, your smart weapons automatically lock on instantly, so you don't have to wait for them to lock onto enemies for you. And I think that kind of stuff is what you can expect to find within the skill trees.
Okay. Sounds good, Matt. And I know with the 2.0 update, they did introduce a lot more, refinements, quality of life things. I think the two biggest things that I'm most excited to check out. First one being, Matt, have you tried any of the updated melee stuff?
I have. I don't know how updated did it get, because I've mostly just been doing the new monowire stuff. I don't know if that's related to what you're talking about.
I apparently it was all just revamped, but did you do monowires on your first playthrough too, or is this kind of new territory?
I had monowires. I didn't think they did much other than increase the range of my attacks when I was using them, right, way back when I played before. But now, when you're integrating them in with the skill tree, it's very nice, because now you have something every time you hit somebody with a monowire attack, you get 0.5 RAM back, which is huge.
Nice.
If you use your monowire as a finisher, you get 5 RAM back, and which is I think crazy as well. And I'm assuming that the other trees for the other kind of like the fist, the rocket launcher, and the mantis blades all have something similar.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'd be looking forward to that, I guess, if I was I'm assuming the mantis blade ones are going to be like really, really nice. We should probably talk to Noel about that because I know that's his play style.
Okay, cool. And another big update that I was looking forward to, or at least very curious about, is the updated, police and your, I guess, for everything from chases to how they interact with you. Have you ever sunk your teeth into that as well?
Yeah, Jaren, I have been noticing the police a lot more in Night City ever since I started playing because they actually care now. Jaren. I think a nice thing though about the police is that they need line of sight to see you do a crime. I think that's like a very interesting thing that they added. And I kind of like the system of, hey, you can, drive away from them. You can see them on your mini map. They're kind of like where they're coming at you from. So being able to, kind of plan your route around where they're coming from is like a nice kind of chase system that they have going on. Jaren, could you hack cars before?
That I don't remember.
You can hack cars now. So you can remotely control somebody else's car. You can make their car just like drive forward, or you can just make their car do hard brakes, which is very fun when you're getting chased by the police.
Okay, that sounds really fun, Matt.
And I guess like while we're on like the cars thing, Jaren, the cars feel a lot better now. I don't think that they control exactly the way I would want to, because I do still have some like fishtailing issues when I'm driving, but that is a lot less than what I remember doing for previous Cyberpunk. I remember even having to install a mod so that I could control the cars properly. But
I think the only car I ended up playing in the first Cyberpunk was Johnny's like Porsche, and even that was pretty rough. Where the only thing I did enjoy, I had to use a bike. The first time I was presented an opportunity to get like a motorcycle, I took it, and I would only drive that since.
Oh, Jared, for the police, I was actually just seeing like how it works once you get them to 5 stars, and them dropping kind of like, Jared, did you ever get to like the 5-star stuff in previous like, or like when you were playing Cyberpunk before?
I can't say that. If I did, I don't remember it, just because that's how much the police weren't a factor to me.
Like, I'm pretty sure I tried to do it once and it was really underwhelming, but doing it this time, it had, at least from maybe it's a recency, but it had a lot more impact for me. Like, it was a lot harder to get them off your tail once you're at 3 stars. Once you're at 5, like, it's near impossible to get them off you unless, like, I had to just, like, hide in, like, a corner of the map where they couldn't walk to me, so I was always outside of their kind of like influence sphere, so they couldn't see me. I think otherwise I would have just wiped if I didn't find that spot, because they spawn so aggressively once you're at the max tack level. And Jaren, I think one of my favorite things combat wise is that there's more net runners to fight.
Oh, nice.
Because like there are skills now, or there is like a kind of like couple of skill nodes now within the intelligence tree where like you can counter enemy net runners. And when I initially saw that, I was like, that's useless. But where I am, like I've done enough fights against net runners that I see the value in those skills now.
Okay.
That like I've actually invested in them. And I guess like going into combat real quick, Jaren, I think one of the things I really like is the change to health and grenades. Because I don't know if you like were following that one in particular.
I was not.
They're not a consumable item anymore. The way it works now is that once you find a kind of like health, the inhaler or like a grenade at a certain level, you can always have it at that level. And you kind of just have charges of them now. So you only have
nice.
like 2 charges of health, 2 charges of grenade. They restore in like maybe like 10-15 seconds, I think by default, which I think is like a fair amount of time to get it back. But I don't know, the gameplay feels a lot better now that you can't just walk out, shoot somebody, and chug health potions, and just like walk down the street at them for like infinitely. So I feel like the damage matters a lot more now that you have like this charge system for your in particular your health pack.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I saw that the 2.0 update removes the breach protocol. Do you remember that? Is that the hacking minigame or whatever?
Oh no, that's still there. I love the hacking minigame. The hacking minigame is still fun. I love it when you get enough things that work together that you can what do you call it? You know, you're just like multi doing those breaches at the same time. Feels so good, Jared.
So good. But yeah, I'm looking at the 2.0 update just to kind of refresh myself, you know, to get me ready for when, honestly, I'll probably just play it after we finish up this pod. But yeah, it says net running changes. Remove the option to use breach protocol on enemies. Okay, I misread that. But
on like the enemy like mech stuff.
Yeah. Okay. But Matt, I'm really excited. But within your 20 hours, do you have your own Night City adventures or any fun happenings that you'd like to share?
I mean, Jaren, being able to kind of just like go around Night City again, it's actually very nice. I forgot how good Night City looks, and having vehicles that are not asked to drive makes traversing around Night City a lot better, to the point where like I've hit that point where I don't want to fast travel anymore.
Nice.
Because I want to like drive through Night City and kind of like, you know, I have a reason to get all the, you know, those kind of like small missions that are happening like near you.
Okay.
You know, to like you get like the cyberware system got like revamped, and I kind of like how it works.
Okay.
You're kind of like limited on what you can equip at the start, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and you can't really hit the upper limit unless you decide to invest in the tech tree, which I think makes sense.
Man, I'm scared of cyber psychosis, though. If there's one thing that Edge Runners has taught me is that's no good, Matt. That's no good.
That's good. Oh man, Jaren, there's a skill called there's a node called Edge Runners that increases your what do you call it? Cyberware limit. Like it's the biggest cyberware limit you can get, and it's, you know, that classic like back shot of David.
Classic. So good. Matt, I'm so excited to finally jump into this and see how much I can share from my adventures next week. But Matt, yeah, I think the moment this pod ends, I'm just going to start creating my character. But anything else from the 2.0 update that you just have to talk about?
I don't know, Jen, like it's nice to be back in Night City. I'm really interested in seeing if there's any like, I'm really just like looking forward to getting to Phantom Liberty, because I really want to see what stuff they've put into there.
Same, Matt. Same. But again, with how I play games these days, I'm hoping that I'll be able to touch upon that by the next time we record. But
wait, Jared.
Yep.
One thing that I don't like about this update, Jared, when you go back to an old save, they let you. I think it's like a very smart choice to let you reset all your things with like the push of a button, like the attributes. You only get one reset and you can't get it any other way. One of the first mods I saw for Cyberpunk 2.0 is making that like a thing that you can just, you know, get regularly, which I think, you know, I'm surprised that that's not a thing.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm glad that I double dipped and bought the Steam version just so I could partake in those mods, because Matt, I was heavily debating just going through Cyberpunk again on this time the Series X, since the first time I played was on the One X. But I think in between, apparently it runs pretty well on the Steam Deck, so that's also something I'll be testing out throughout the week, you know, just going back and forth and seeing how that works as well. But yeah, man, I think with especially the new skill trees and how I really want to build my character, I'm hoping that I'll be confident in my decisions, Matt. But yeah, I think especially for me, respecing is always something that is on my mind. Was that what you were talking about, or did I misinterpret what you just said?
Oh no, yeah. The respecing, yeah.
Man, that's rough, Matt. If there's one thing I want more in 2023 is make respecting easily accessible. Because Matt, I'm not confident in my choices a lot of the times.
Jaren, I think it's wild that is. I don't like people who say that respecing is like a thing that you shouldn't be able to do easily.
I disagree because Matt,
oh man,
I do not have faith in my decisions, and I'm also don't have a lot of playtime to really stick to my convictions. So we'll see about that.
I could do I think I could do a whole episode on respects, and I think people who don't like respects are dumb.
Oh man, Matt. Okay, maybe one day, Matt, will go into what people's some common gaming opinions and how those opinions should put people in prison. But until then, Matt, what's your closing thoughts on Cyberpunk 2.0?
It's really fun. I think the thing for me that I really, really hope is that it's stable on consoles.
Right.
Like, I think that is the one thing I really, really want.
I should have got my copy since I visited my parents this weekend. I totally forgot to bring a few things home, and one of the things I wanted to bring home was at least my Cyberpunk Xbox disc, just to see how that ran on the Series X. But maybe for next time, Matt. Maybe for next time. And speaking about next time, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more Cyberpunk discussion next week on the Mistake Zone. But this has been a beefy episode where we have talked about some new games and some new old games, Matt. But as always, I want to thank you for joining me this week and editing the podcast that people can listen to wherever they get their podcasts.
And Jaren, I got to thank you for hosting the show, as you always do.
Thanks, man. And I want to thank Pinocchio. I want to thank Alice. I don't want to thank Perry's because I'm bad at Matt. I don't want to thank my aging reflexes because that's the reason I can't do Perry's. I want to thank Joy, I think, Matt.
Yeah.
Don't want to thank the Payday servers because that's a no-go right now.
Same.
I want to thank David. I want to thank Lucy. I want to thank Rebecca. And Matt, I hope there's more Edge Runners references with this 2.0 update other than what was inserted a few months ago. But this has been a beefy episode of the Mistake Zone, Matt. I'm a sleepy boy, but Matt, gotta make sure I say goodnight in Night City, so please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of no respecing in games.
Just let me respec, man. Just let me respec.